Don't wait until the weather turns to replace your windows. This month, Window Nation is offering 50%. You heard me right, half off on all window styles. And their installation crews finish the job in a day or less, so you can get your new windows, then enjoy the rest of the summer safe in the knowledge that they've been expected again and again to keep your home comfortable year round. But y'all, this sale ends very soon. Schedule a fast, free estimate now with Window Nation. Call 866-90-NATION or head to windownation.com. Okay, so Simone, you and I both had the chance to see Dungeons & Dragons, the 20-sided tavern at Broadway Playhouse at Water Tower Place. And for me personally, it was unlike anything I have experienced in a Chicago theater. What did you think?
Oh my God, I loved it. The show changes every time. So kind of makes me want to go see it again.
That's exactly how I felt leaving.
What happens?
Again, even if you've never played the game, it's just like a really interactive fantasy play because of how much you're able to use your phone, interact with the choices that are taking place.
There will be plenty to see between now until the show closes September 28th. Jacoby, where can people get tickets?
Get your tickets now at BroadwayInChicago.com. Make sure you stay tuned after the interview for a conversation sponsored by the Chicago Association of Realtors about Realtors Real Estate School. Today on CityCast Chicago, the city's annual House Music Festival and Conference is back starting tonight. That makes it a great time to revisit our history of house and show some respect to the genre and, of course, the place that birthed it. It's Thursday, August 21st. I'm Jacoby Cochran, and this is what Chicago's talking about. Back in 2022, we talked with DJ Lori Branch and music archivist Lauren Lowry, and the first thing I asked DJ Lori was what was it like pulling up to the Warehouse, the now landmark former nightclub, considered one of the birthplaces of house music?
Yeah, you typically put up behind the block on a, or if you were more like most of the kids, you was on the bus getting off at the block. But this party started at midnight on Saturdays. It didn't jump off until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. This is an abandoned part of the city. It's not as built up as it is right now, but the South Loop.
Was this South Loop where the Warehouse was?
Well, 206 South Jefferson. So it is on sort of the western edge of the loop and slightly south, like near Adams. We were kids, so we probably got there at 12:30, right near the start. And you park behind where you hear the vibration of the Warehouse coming from the building, emanating. So this was kind of a deserted area. So you could be anonymous there. You can, kind of let your hair down and people could come dressed as they were without being harassed once they got there. Now, many of them got business on the bus, but once you arrived, you're in this safe space. You're supposed to be 18 and over to get in there. I was not 18. I had a fake ID that we got on Maxwell Street. You go into this lounge area where people are chilling, and it's tastefully decorated with booths and little love seats. And then you go down another little rickety flight of stairs that leads you right to the dance floor. It's pulsating. You're in it. You're swallowed up by the sound. You're feeling it. They've got these large windows where you can actually sit in there. Sometimes people slept in there. Like how you could go to sleep in there, I don't know.
Oh my God.
Those deep wells in the windows. People are with the shirts off, with fashion, no fashion, come as you are, posing. Lots of men, mostly Black people, but certainly a smattering of everybody else: white people, women, straight, gay, Latinos, Asians, sort of a little bit of everybody. That was what the experience was like. It was all encompassing. Most people stayed till they sweat their clothes off. And, we come out and the sun was coming up and you get home and try not to fall asleep in the car while you're driving.
Rock your body. Rock your body, rock your body.
Gee, that was a at one point. I don't know if you saw me. I was like when you was going down the rickety stairs to the dance floor. I could hear it. I could feel it. I mean, the visuals that you provide.
You can feel it, yeah.
So let's do a brief history. What is house and where does it come from, Lauren?
House music, as I believe, is a synergy of different music forms, many of them African derived from funk to disco, etc., combined with, a lot of electronica, maybe a lot of European, sort of music, craft work, etc. A lot of these people had influences into house music, but really, it really is sort of an African centered music form. And it came from a need for people to enjoy what I believe was, I consider was disco. That was almost banned by all of America at a
Hmm.
certain point.
Yeah, at one point they had a disco burning at Comiskey during the White Sox game because a local radio DJ was
Absolutely.
up in arms about the popularity.
There's always issues around to the black music, generally. Someone's always saying
Hmm.
something about it. But, clearly disco didn't die and disco evolved. And it evolved in the underground clubs and it evolved with, and I think people thought disco was primarily a gay and black music. But the gay community in Chicago really embraced music, brought it to another level, brought Robert Williams, who created the Warehouse, brought in Frankie Knuckles from New York, another gay um, human being who was a music aficionado, and brought in this unbelievable music form by mixing different forms of music together with beats and sounds that had maybe not been put together before.
You mentioned Frankie Knuckles, who was working out in New York alongside Larry Levin. They were, playing at the gallery. And then Frankie, through Robert Williams, comes to Chicago in the late 70s to the Warehouse. DJ Lori, Frankie is doing this before like House, the name, really like catches or is popularized. So when we say he's mixing music, what is that signature sound that people start getting from Frankie when he's playing in the clubs from what, midnight to 7 in the morning?
Yeah. Well, there's a couple things. It was not just the music because Frankie played R&B, he played Italian disco, American disco, he played rock music, he played stuff that was down tempo, up tempo. He's also adding elements that we hadn't used before, electronic, drum machines, different things to sort of boost the feeling and to create that through line for that 8 hours that he was spinning, 8, 9 hours, long nights. I was there sometimes the whole time. It was beautiful. But what made it real was, as Robert Williams likes to say, it was the application. So it's the creating of this very special place. So that's why people have such reverence for the Warehouse. There are other bars that were playing disco music, but the experience, that kind of sound system that is created to envelop the dancer, and the place that Robert Williams was created was very special.
Lauren, when people tell stories of these different clubs around the city, and again, we're talking about some that maybe serve alcohol, some that are juice bars. Is this all happening underground? Is this something that people are like, you have to be like in the in crowd, you got to be hip, you got to know somebody to know somebody to know about it? Or is this like, a pretty well known popular spot?
I think it depends on your crowd, but I think it was a pretty well-known popular spot for those people who enjoyed music, who loved music, who wanted to be in the scene and just wanted to be in the party. So whether you were in high school or
Hmm.
not, you wanted to be in that scene. And I want you to think about and remember that the some of the people creating, you know, the artwork and doing the flyers and telling people, many of these people are kids like Lori's age. They're 17, 18, 19 years old.
Mm.
My experience is a little different. I didn't make it to the Warehouse, but I went to some of these underground clubs because my colleagues and friends from high school were doing the sound systems. And next thing you know, I'm like under Michigan Avenue, under in this club, and So there was a bunch of men dancing together, and I'm like, this is interesting, and just partying. I'm like, this is different. I don't know what's going on here, but I'm
Uh-huh.
having a good time. You don't even know what's going on. You just want to be in the music. You just want to be in the space. And the music brought people out. It was unique. It was different. It made people happy. It spread love,
Yeah.
and it was not violent.
All right, so I want to name a couple qualities. I want you to think if they apply to you, and just maybe I might got your next career move. Ready? I bet. Do you have a passion for people? You're excited to help others and you got great customer service skills. Do you crave flexibility, right? You want to be in charge of your own schedule and chart your own course. Do you got that hustle in you, right? Are you ready to turn that drive into something meaningful? All right, if you answer yes, then hey, real estate might be your next big move. Realtors help people make one of the biggest decisions of their lives, buying or selling a home, and no 2 days are the same. It's a chance to grow a business, make an impact, and build the lifestyle you're working towards. Visit realtorsrealestateschool.com to set up a free career consultation. Remember that amazing little cafe you went to last summer? You know, the one with the perfect breakfast sandwich and them delicious smoothies? Or what about that hiking spot or that biking trail your friend told you about, but for some reason you can't remember the name? Well, with Overlook Maps, special places never get lost again, my friends. Create personal lists of places you've been and want to go. Hey, share your favorite hidden gems with friends and family. Let them discover that nail salon, that barbecue spot, that row of thrift shops that you've been trying to gatekeep. Or you know what, hey, if you want, keep your secret spots completely private. But what about this? Maybe you planning a trip with friends. You can create a share list where everyone can add their ideas. Maybe you visiting a new city. You can check out lists from locals who already know the best spots that you should pull up on. And here's a key part. No ads cluttering your list. No one selling your data to advertisers. Just your personal collection of amazing places organized exactly how you want them. Overlook Maps. Collect, organize, and share the places that matter to you. Download free at overlookmaps.com. And you want a little bonus? Go to overlookmaps.com/Chicago to see some of our lists and great spots on a map and in your pocket. Your places, your way. Where's this name coming from? Is it the warehouse? Is it the house parties? Is it you can make the beats at your house because, technology meant you didn't have to be at a studio? Where's this name really derived for? Is it all of the above?
Listen, I think it's all of the above because
Mm-hmm.
I've heard so many stories about it. Like people would say, this is like warehouse music." Leonard Roy, who is a friend of mine, and he, claims that he kind of created the term. That it was about, he was the one who at least we know put the sign in the window saying we play house music here at a
Okay.
club on 71st and Cottage Grove, somewhere around there. And then you hear people say, well, I made it in my house, so it's kind of house music. I like to say, why don't we give credit to the whole group?
Who are the other big names or the tracks that's popularizing house during this run? When you're walking into some of these clubs, who are you hearing and what are the songs that, getting replayed 2, 3 times?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. It's hard to name. A lot of our influences. I mean, look, Salso, Prelude, all those artists. Tanya Gardner, and
Mm-hmm.
if when we start thinking of the transition from disco to house, you know, that's when you start hearing the tracks that are made by our own people. So starting in like the 83, 84 with Jesse Saunders and Chippy
Mm-hmm.
and
On and on and
Steve
Time to
Hurley.
Jack.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
There's a great Joe Smooth. These were that's when it really kicked off. And so you're getting a mixture of sort of the Ron Hardy, Frankie Knuckles magic with
Mm-hmm.
what's happening with these kids who are my age, my contemporaries making music. Craig Loftus, you know, at the clubs, and then you start to have people emulating that.
So around this time, Lauren, we talking right the mid late '80s. Rap and hip hop music is rocketing into the mainstream, and we talk about how people felt in the clubs, in the safe space, listening to house music. But what was the reaction to house music outside of the clubs? Is it experiencing this same boom?
Chicago embraced house music for sure. I mean, they didn't hate
Okay.
hip hop, but they loved house music. And the great thing about the popular mediums at the time is that we were able to share that in many different places. People somehow discount how this music form found its way throughout the world. We had the tapes, the 8 track, not the little tapes, and then you had albums. All these things were spreading the music not just across Chicago, not just across the Midwest, not just to New York, not just to LA, but again to London, Europe, Amsterdam,
Mhm.
Berlin, etc.
In 87, a new mayor in Chicago decides that they want to, shut down these late night parties. Is house music linked to these clubs in the sense of when the clubs stop being open as late, the house music drops, or does the genre sort of, sustain itself even as this backlash to the club scene is picking up?
So you have a couple things colliding. You have like, the environment around us is very oppressive. You do have a new mayor. We lost Mayor Harold Washington. We've got Reagan as a president, and you have the people who were like me, who are kind of moving away from it. We don't mention HIV, but HIV was having a
Yeah.
devastating effect on the people who created this genre. We
Mhm.
lost so many people. I talk about that wonderful scene at the warehouse, and I could tell you, so many of those men are no longer here, and they were dying. Producers were dying. DJs were dying, and then you had kind of a backlash. There was a bit of a backlash on all of that. So folks like myself, Alan King, Jesse Saunders, they moved away from the genre, or at least away from the city. So kind of the fire that was here, at least the beginning of it, the people who were around in the early 80s, late 70s, who were just kind of lighting the match, they had sort of dissipated somewhat. You did have a new crew, though. We call them the second generation, the Dion Hunters and the Glenn Undergrounds and those kind of people who were really starting to make a name for themselves. And it didn't go away, it was just much more diffused.
At the time we talked, Beyonce had just released her masterpiece Renaissance. Drake had dropped the subpar Honestly Nevermind. And both of them ended up causing a lot of buzz, especially in Chicago's house scene. DJ Lori had thoughts.
It's the notion that somehow she's resurrecting something that needed to be resurrected. And so when I've read all of the comments on social media and some of the headlines from a lot of the reporters, you would think house music died, and Beyonce was like, bringing it back to life. And so I think the house music community is like, okay, it didn't need to be resurrected. It has an underground feel for a reason. That's why it makes it so good. I think what if she did anything, she sort of put a commercial tint on it. But there's even a lot of criticism around that. Now, a lot of people feel like it's a great move that anytime that house music gets shine from celebrities as big as Drake and Beyonce, that does nothing but elevate something that is homegrown Chicago and now international. It elevates our music that much more.
When we're hearing these new releases and people immediately reach for house, what is it that they're latching onto when you hear a Break My Soul? What are those sounds that people are gravitating towards that make them say this feels like it's in the house lineage?
Well, when I think about, we've heard references to Show Me Love and some other influences that in Beyonce's song.
Yeah,
And
by
I,
Robin S.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Quintessential house, 90s, early 90s, internationals. It's one of those things that you can associate with this is house. I think they're looking for a feeling. In the case of Beyonce, now, don't get me wrong, I'm a huge fan. I love Beyonce. Her remixes are dope. I play them all the time. Uh, and I made a comment on social media that often people who are not used to doing house music, when they attempt to do house music as a start off, instead of like a house music producer being at the table at the beginning, it can come off a little bit, a little, I don't know, derivative, for lack of a better term.
Lauren, when you first heard these projects and this single, what was your original reaction? Did it sound like house music to you, or did it sound like artists who were, maybe reaching a little bit?
I think everything derives from house. I mean, that's sort of,
Mm,
how I look at most music. I look at everything from a historical standpoint. This is how do we get people to think more about house music as Black music, house
yeah.
music that's African derived? Generally, I don't care how we get to that point. I just want us to get to that point. As we look at this music form, we want to put it in the canon of all Black music, blues, jazz, gospel. All of these, house music is influenced by all of these things, and it is quintessential Black music made by Black people who happen to grow up in the city of Chicago. Someone like me is just happy that people start to think about the history of house, think about its gay roots, think about its Black roots. Really, I'm hoping to go off a little bit off your question that this resurges the pioneers' ability to make the millions off of, this
Hmm.
music form that has expanded globally.
Well, thank y'all both so much for joining me. Two of the co-hosts of WNUR's Vintage House Show, DJ Lori Branch and archivist Lauren Lowry. Thank y'all for joining CityCast Chicago to remind people Chicago is the birthplace of house music and honestly the birthplace of most of the things that you find cool in this country. Thank y'all for making time for us.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Jack it up out there. Jack it up out there.
This year's House Music Conference is tonight from 4 to 10 at the Chicago Cultural Center. Then the Music Festival will feature events at the Cultural Center, Grant Park, Millennium Park, and the Riverwalk all weekend long. You can check the link in the show notes for more details. Up next, a quick conversation sponsored by the Chicago Association of Realtors. And the person doing the interview, maybe you ain't never heard of them before. Hey, Jacoby here with Erica Villegas, the 2025 president of the Chicago Association of Realtors. Welcome to the podcast, Erica.
Thank you, Jacoby. Thank you so much for having me here.
You are celebrating 20 years of not only getting your real estate license, but becoming a member of the Chicago Association of Realtors. I did my homework. Why did you initially get into real estate?
Well, yes, 20 years. I can't even believe it. I got into real estate because we had a real estate transaction, my husband and I, and it didn't go as well. And I had been dabbling in the nonprofit world for a long time. I love people. I love making connections. And someone suggested to me that maybe real estate was a good career choice for me. And so I took advantage. And I took my classes with the Chicago Association of Realtors almost 20 years ago with the one and only Frank Williams, and now a friend and a mentor of mine.
What does real estate school entail? You talk about taking those classes. What does that look like?
Well, it looked a little bit different 20 years ago, because I remember taking it and it was, you had to become a real estate salesperson first and then a broker. Now you just become a real estate broker. And what that entails is checking out our website, signing up for one of our pre-licensing courses. And that is a 75-hour course that really covers law and the business of real estate in real life. And then you get to do the real work after that, because after the 75 hours, you get to study some more, take the state exam. And then after that, you get to become a realtor, right? You sign up with a managing broker, you sign up with a sponsoring broker in office, and then you can call yourself a realtor.
How does being connected to the Chicago Association of Realtors give students a leg up? What does that networking, that support look like? How does it make you a more successful realtor?
From really the beginning of my career, as I mentioned, I took the classes with the Chicago Association of Realtors, and that really opened my eyes to the possibility of finding mentors, finding other people that had the same, what I call ganas, right? The same want to become successful, to start really your own business. But we were all kind of going through our own differences in the markets because we have 77 amazing neighborhoods in Chicago. And so we were all dealing with similar things, but also very different things. And so that gave me an opportunity to really to connect to other members across the city and say, hey, I want to sell Lincoln Park. Can you give me a heads up over there? I live by Midway Airport. You want to sell on this side of town? Let me give you some insight of how it works. And so the reality is that this allows me to have a connection with, we have almost 17,000 members. And so that allows me to have this huge network of collaborators to really do the best work possible for our clients across the city.
17,000, which means you've had endless colleagues. I imagine so many mentors and mentees. Do you have a success story that stands out in your mind over these last couple of decades of a past student that comes to mind?
I mean, we have a lot of success stories throughout the years, right? One of the most recent ones that I just had a couple days ago, a friend of mine, she was actually introduced by my aunt, and she said, "Eric, I think I want to become a realtor. What's the next step?" And I said, "Here's a link to our real estate school. And on top of that, we have a foundation. The foundation provides scholarships to cover the costs to these individuals that want to start a business and want to start a career in real estate." And so I mentioned to her, please apply for the scholarship in conjunction with your classes. And she texted me a few days ago that she got the scholarship, which means the course is free for her. And then she gets the application for new member waived. And on top of that, she gets to attend our YPN breakfast, which are the coolest breakfasts in town in Chicago. And she gets to attend those, start building relationships with other realtors even before she becomes a realtor. So she can see the power of networking, the power that our association has, and that we truly are the voice of real estate in Chicago.
Eric, I appreciate you making time for us and being here. Again, check out realtorsrealestateschool.com to learn more. We'll have that link for you in our show notes as well. So you're just a click away. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Thank you.
Before we get out of here, I want to shout out two new CityCast Chicago neighbors. I want to show some love to Eric B. and Jordan L. for signing up to become CityCast Chicago members. We appreciate all our neighbors who help support the show. If you want to join them, get like them, and get that ad-free listening, get members-only events and emails, then head over to membership.citycast.fm. You know, I ain't gonna let you go with just a pitch. I also got some good news. I know we gave you a rundown of some food festivals yesterday, but we also got a ton of art festivals this weekend as well, including Chalk Howard Street, the city's only 3D Arts Festival. You got Bucktown Arts Festival, Talia Free for All. We got so much more in our events calendar. Head over to chicago.citycast.fm. Please, please, please join me back in here bright and early tomorrow. I'll talk to you then. Peace.